Hi everyone, welcome to my first online lecture on things about reading and writing, the subject that I'm handling this semester. And don't worry, I'll not be repeating what I have been mentioning for the past few weeks in class. Like, for example, the importance of annotations. I did emphasize that more than once, how it really is helpful in helping you be engaged in a certain material. For now, I think the first topic that I'd like to talk on is my renewed perspective on language, whether written or spoken. Well, I maybe you thought that I'll be giving you some hacks as to how you can pass my upcoming midterm exam. Well, maybe I'll consider if it will be a popular demand and if it will be coming from you, my students. Be my guest, I'll oblige. Well, since this is the soft opening of my channel. Oh, by the way, if you want an explanation why it's called Nocturnal Sage, just read the description below this video. I don't want to explain it again and again in every segment, but just read it. Things that are expressed just once usually get remembered, you know? Okay, so let's get on topic. Language has a funny way of controlling us humans. We created it, but somehow it's the one controlling us. Last time I attended this family reunion on my mother's side. Now her family is composed of diverse people, diverse folks, but uh, among them, I find myself the only one, together with my uncle, inclined to things worth discussing. And that is the primary reason why I get left out. Now, considering I'm in my early 20s, I should and I do have the ability to socially adapt by sounding common. Like, for example, talking about the latest trends in music, talking about celebrities that I even have to pretend to care about just so I could share something that's important to them. Also, yeah, another thing, humor. I find the humor in this dominant pattern in conversations. In as long as the Filipino conversational setting is concerned, humor that has something to do with playing with sounds of words. That's what's usually glorified here. But if you give humor that's reminiscent of dry wits, giving as a matter of fact statements like, for example, Raven in Teen Titans use always, people won't get it. Well, to me, humor should be used functionally. It just mustn't just make people laugh. It has to keep the conversation moving forward. That's my issue with Filipino old style jokes. You like, for example, what color is your what would you do if you lost your violet cell phone? The answer is edi violet. Alright, now to those non-Tagalog, non-Filipino speaking folks out there, the sense of that joke is violet. Is a wordplay. Olet means again in Filipino. Now, that syllable is used to deliver the punchline, and the violet, which meaning, well, buy another one or buy again. So yeah, I think some of you somewhat feel the same. Like, you want to express a certain idea, but you're just afraid of being radical because you have to use these words that are not really used in colloquial settings, just so you can really say what you mean. And if you do, well, people would say, "Okay, you're so smart. Oh, you should be given this award, like laureate, all know-it-all laureate stuff." Okay, now just a disclaimer: it's really not delivered that way exactly here in the Philippines, but that's basically the sense, you know. Well, I do get treated like that most of the time. That's why I tend not to talk most frequently in conversations with people that I know who have so that with whom we have so much less in common, and I only get to talk about these things with people, who share the same, well, maybe not the same understanding, but the same interest somehow. So see, if I hadn't learned language, if I hadn't been proficient enough, I think I'd live my life being misunderstood until this point. And here's the irony. I can recall the effort of Frankenstein's monster. He tried to fit in um with these people by learning their language. And yes, he did learn their language, but he was surprised that his monstrosity still got to them. He was not yet welcomed, even if he knew how to speak human language. That's how I feel about right now. This is my perspective on being proficient at any language. Yes, we speak the same language. But right now, yeah, to those who don't know me, I'm a Filipino, and I'm shooting this video inside my room here in the Philippines. My first language is Filipino, specifically Tagalog. But I'd rather use English more, since my ideas, the concepts, are easily grasped when when they're being expressed in English than in Filipino. That's the sad part. I'm an English teacher, but I think I realize now why I majored in English, because I want to use this foreign tool to intellectualize my very own language, which is Filipino. Yes, it may not look like it, but I think in Filipino, I speak in Filipino, I know how to speak in Filipino. If you want me to prove that I know how to, just maybe I could shoot another video for that, another segment that could be good. If you want another segment delivered in Filipino, that's fine by me. I'll oblige. Well, anyway, that's the power of language. It's so powerful that it gets to it's also able to control its very creator, none other than us human beings. But at the same, here's the light of hope that I see. Even if language is created, yes, the fact that it's created means that it can also be changed. But the change has to be collaborative. Alright, so what takeaway can you get from the Nocturnal Sage segment 1? Well, it's this. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want uh, to, to forward this change, all you have to do is have courage. You know, look at these expressions. Like, oh, another day again. Or, is this day any going to get better? And well, I cannot cite any more examples because I've unlearned. You see, that's how another manifestation of language's power. I get to unlearn useless expressions. I honestly forgot how to complain. Well, maybe because I choose to. Well, yeah, that is, if you really want to help change the way something works, you really have to participate. You have to say something different, even if many will disapprove of it. And usually, if you get disapproval from time to time, you're differentiating, you're making a mark in the world. So, with regard to making this transformative change, though subtle, you're left with two options. One is to be remembered for being common, for being normal, but you get to be invisible. Yes, you have company, but no one really understands you, or you feel like you're still alone. Or the second option is you speak up. You, whenever there's an opening, just like in games, when you have an open target, shoot. If you know that what you're going to say is going to benefit others, well then go. Now, if you think it otherwise, then save it. That's basically the principle of communication that all should remember and understand. You know, if it's something that's going to help everyone, why withhold it? And another New Year takeaway that I want to share with you is that even withholding something useful is a sin. You know, this is the prime motivation that I have why I got back into doing what I have always never got tired of doing, writing fiction. I'm a short story writer, the unpublished cohort. This year, my ultimate goal is to submit entries to reputable literary journals here in the Philippines. Well, I think you're quite surprised. A guy in his early 20s still having that ambition. Well, let me tell you that ambition doesn't have to stop upon graduating or up when you start working. And so another thought, I want to segue from writing first to ambition. Ambition, having ambition doesn't necessarily have to depend on whether or not your goals are achievable. As long as it keeps you going, we have to emulate what the gods in the Ragnarok story did. Even if they had known that in the end they were going to get killed, they did not shy away from battle. They still fought. Our demise as human beings is just like the fate of the gods in that story. The knowledge that we're going to die doesn't necessarily have to bring despair in our lives, but rather we can use it as inspiration to keep going, to do our best. We can rename that goal to dying gracefully or beautifully. Now, the death and the writer. When I write something, I don't consider it's going to get finished. I don't believe in final drafts because if a draft is considered final, it's always susceptible to revisions. And I experienced lots of times that when I submitted drafts to my professors, they would always get corrected, even if they were the final, yeah, quote unquote, final ones. If people can get to discourse with you based on what you've written, then that only means your final draft is just an abandoned document, borrowing from an acquaintance from the literature department that I had during freshman year in college. I asked him if he believed in finished works, and he used the term abandoned to refer to them. So right now, my approach to writing is my objective is no longer to finish it, but it's something that I have to keep on doing in order to stay alive. One activity that's rarely recorded on to-do lists, on diaries or journals is the act of breathing. And I'm not saying it's a sin not to record it, but look at this. The fact that we do not write what we're doing constantly breathing means that it has become our habit. So right now, writing, it has become an everyday thing for me already. I cannot let a day pass without having written one page, at least one page, or one letter or email. I think more than uranium bombs, penetrable insights expressed through words are more they're more effective in making radical changes in the world. Because now wait, yes, it's cliche, I know, but have you ever considered what propels human beings in the first place to act? It's insight, it's belief. Beliefs control our actions. And that's actually the primary. Yes, we say everyone has a choice, but the primary choice that human beings will always be faced with is what to believe in. And belief is not different from doubt. Look at this illustration. I can choose to believe that Santa Claus exists, and I can choose to doubt that what others say, that he's a fantasy. I can doubt accusations that Santa Claus is a mere figment of of an age-old imagination. So yeah, see, that's where language enters the picture. I use uh, two statements, one expressing faith and the other skepticism, but they both have the same, they point to the same idea. Well, okay, this is a mini literary theory and criticism lecture, but using mainstream language, that's basically the idea, ladies and gentlemen. So there you have it. That's my appreciation for language. Now, if ever you plan to take some matter out of this video and use it to enhance your answers in the midterm that's going to take place on the 21st, well, feel free to do so. And promise, I'm not going to sue you if ever you use some of the quotes from this segment. So I'd appreciate your insights by commenting under this video. That's the primary reason why this channel exists. It's to encourage discourse on topics that are dimly perceived, especially in places you expect them to be seen, heard, or yeah, seen, heard, or spoken the most, the classroom. So consider this an alternative if ever sometimes I don't make sense or any of your teachers don't make sense to you in class. So, bye, take care.